Yes, now let's get the show on the road. In a bid to combat the ordeal of kidnapping and banditry and herdsmen's and farmers, contentions, the leaders of the Southwest region, as in the governors in the region, in the course of the week, created a security outfit called Amotekun. And this has been hot in the news since its creation on Thursday. The operation was launched on Thursday and is not completely independent of the existing security structure, but is to complement the efforts of the police in ensuring safety in all the states in that region. All kinds of questions have been raised in connection with Amotekun, some of which we're going to try to deal with this morning. And we have a knowledgeable panel who might be able to shed some more light on this for us this morning. It's my pleasure to welcome a security expert, Mr. Ladende Ariyo.
Good morning.
Good to have you with us.
You didn't add hi, Chief.
Oh, I do apologize. Oh, yes, of course. High Chief Ariyo is with us this morning. Then we have a low chief, Tanwa Ashuru. And Tanwa is a defense and intelligence security analyst. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Then we have the vice president of ASIS International, Sheyi Adetayo. Good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for joining us.
Pleasure is mine.
Let me start with the lady. Everybody has been talking about Amotekun since it was launched on Thursday. What are your thoughts about this? Some are saying it's going to compete with the police. Some are saying it's going to, well, the regional governors who set it up say it's not going to compete, it's going to complement the efforts of the police. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. So we have to look at it as almost a security company. When you put a security guard at a gate, he's there to just help protect that area. He's not threatening any policemen in the area. Now, the whole purpose really of Amotekun is that we have a lot of ungoverned spaces. The highways are not patrolled all the time. And so the Southwest governments, Southwestern states today have been dealing with a lot of banditry and kidnapping. It's bad. And they've complained to the police, and the police is saying, look, we only have XYZ number of men. And the Southwest governors say, okay, you know what? Let's set up this security outfit. It's actually not a force, and they insist on explaining that it's not a security force. It is a security outfit, and they're meant to be there to complement the statutory security agencies that are already in existence and work alongside them. So they patrol the highways. They can respond if there's any situation. They're supposed to stay around the hotspots and help out with those ungoverned parts of the states.
So they are still passing information on to the normal law enforcement?
Absolutely, they have to. And if any kind of situation comes on, they may not be able to respond themselves, so they can pass it on to their central control room, wherever that is. And those guys can then call for backup to the nearest policeman in the area, and they can also come to assist. And that's what it's about.
Mr. Adetayo, some are saying that this is sneaking in regional police through the back door.
I think that is where we actually get it wrong. I think it also has to do with this fear that, we are always occupied with all the time something new is coming up, and people start thinking, okay, there's something hidden behind it. I think it has a lot to do with the way the media picked it up. And I used to say that information is key. If you are bringing up a program, you need to actually put a lot of information out there for people to understand what you mean by what you try to do. Amotekun is not a security outfit. So we first of all need to clarify that it's a security program. So we have existing structures already. Okay, for example, there was a time that we have serious security problems in the Ijebu, the Shagamu, and the rest. And then vigilantes were created to take care of that. They weren't competing with the police structure on ground. They were there to complement. And if you go to, I remember when I was in the service in Anambra State, the state recognized the vigilantes in all communities. They even sponsored procurement of arms. And it was the police command that registered those arms, registered those vigilantes, and they were complemented to stem the tide of armed robberies and insecurity in. And if you go to, I've seen it in Bauchi, several states.
Can you just hold your thoughts for a moment? We'll go on a quick break. We'll come back and continue. Please stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Deta, you were talking about the...
Okay, yes, I was just trying to, share the experience I've had in the past, especially when I was still in the service, and what I've seen, going around the country, that you have a form of a quasi-security structures in almost all the states. And so this is just like trying to put a kind of a legality or formality around it and giving it a name, Amotekun, making as in a formal provision of equipment for them or tools for them to work. Whether you create Amotekun or not, each society has a right to try to protect itself. The king can come and call all the hunters and all the artisans in the community and say, we have been bedeviled with a lot and we need to start protecting. That's what we call the Olode, the Alagas, that in each community they are protected. So just trying to now make it, formalize it. And, we have in Borno, we have the CJTF that are supporting. Where we had the problem in Zamfara, there was a civilian JTF that are supporting Operation, and also in Benue, we have the one that supported Operation White Stroke and the rest over there. And, I remember also that when the Neighborhood Watch was established in Lagos, there were just hues and cries that it was about state policing until we tried to understand that, no, it's about community policing. So this is just a form of community policing, but that is taking a regional, support, kind of like, okay, let's have it in such a way that, those in the state can easily work with the one in this, especially those that are living around, the border, communities that are largely unpoliced, because that's where where we are now is a border community. Mm-hmm. Now, there are so many settlements that have now coming up in this community, and it's still the same police structure that have been there 10 years ago. They are still catering for Isheri, and so many communities that are now springing up. And so now you have to look at now the population density of this area. So it's now one policeman to how many civilian. What of also the nearest neighbor index in this law? So we need to take consideration. Those gaps must be filled. Mm-hmm. And if the federal government is not ready to, employ more policemen to cover this, just like Tanwa said, then the community has a right to start saying that, okay, this ungoverned, on police space that we need to. So to me, I don't see anything wrong with what we are having here. It's something that we all should applaud. However, policies can be reviewed. We need to look at how it is now to see if it is working. If it's not, then we'll review it and put it in such a way that it's going to, give us what we want.
Mr. Aria, would you say in terms of timing and structure, this is the best that there could be?
I come here today as a prisoner and endangered species. You want to ask me why?
Who imprisoned you?
Well, I'll tell you. I have a godfather in Efwanlaye, Dr. Lajide. In his compound, I have a bungalow that he gave to me. I do go there for retreats, either to read or write papers. Because of the insecurity along that expressway, up to Iwaraja, okay? Up to the road that leads you to Erimo, to Efon, eventually passing through Itaure. I have not been to Efon in over 4 years. I have a friend and a senior friend from Igbe in Kogi State, the late Chief Simoyon. The man died. I could not attend his funeral. Why? My security or safety could not be guaranteed between Ofa to Isolo, Queen, up to Igbe. Anything could have happened to me. Now, so I've been restricted. I have likely been in Lagos for almost 4 years now. If we now say there's no need for Amotekun, are we denying the kidnapping that we've had in these places? Have you heard of Evans before, who operated within this axis, raking in millions, both in Naira and in Forex? Haven't you heard of the woman and the husband and daughter that came from UK, who went to Ekiti, were coming to Lagos, and the woman was randomly raped by 12 bandits in the bush? I mean, we can go on and on. So for me, it's even belated. It should have come before now. Because I used to live in this community. I mean, it's not a secret. And you and I know the experiences here, that they were coming into this place through the waterways to kidnap people. We had quite a number of experiences, and all those things were happening. I will not wholesale throw away our police or the army. No, but we are not adequately policed. There's a given number of policemen per given population as given by UNA, United Nations. We've not been able to meet that. Even among the little that we've had, a huge number now go about doing private gas system for VIPs. So it's a constitutional problem that is being solved locally, because the first goal of any government should be to provide safety and security for the people, whereby they can achieve their aspirations and they meet their visions, which I will tell you has not been there. That the Long Bridge has taken so many lives, it's not a secret. You and I know these things. And in Kano, we have ISBA, the Sharia police. Nobody complained. If you had the boys in, I've forgotten their name
Bakassi
now.
Boys.
Sorry?
Bakassi Boys.
Bakassi Boys, God bless you, in Anambra State. They stemmed the tide of robbery, kidnapping, and banditry in that place. I would rather, the same way they came to study Dawn Commission, the set of Dawn Commission, which of course, Bench, is one that put up this scheme. Come and study what is the idea behind this, instead of condemning and copy. If you have to adapt to suit your local community, so be it.
Okay, the question of structure now comes into play. When you say we're not effectively being policed, the police as it is not, some say is not structured as it should be. Now, this is a regional body. What's the guarantee that the structure there would be effective enough so that they can do that which they're meant to do, which is gather intelligence and help support the main policing body?
Okay. So as far as we know, from the actual outline and the project, the plans for Amotekun, the strategy in there for putting proper structures have been written down. And it's a matter of the people who are going to be a part of it learning, understanding, and being aware of what the structures are. That's the first thing. Let me tell you what will make Amotekun fail. Its implementation. It's a problem across Nigeria. Initially, everyone's always thinking about procurement. Oh, Amotekun, we need to get these vehicles. And so now you have a bunch of vehicles. But like you said, we need those plans. When you're driving those vehicles, are you going to maintain them properly? We don't want a situation whereby these same vehicles that we're saying, oh, we patrol the ungoverned spaces, and next thing we know, 3 months down the line, they're done, totaled, and it's costing a lot of money. So the arrangements have been made, the plans have been made, the structures have been put in place for Amotekun to succeed. And it's just a matter of, hopefully, the security, the governors, the decision makers are on board. The decision makers also themselves make sure that it's followed to the T.
Would they obey? Would they put themselves under those structures?
Well, so far, and that's why they had to come together for this. So far they have. And it's something, obviously the governors themselves are not the ones sitting on the seat and commanding everything. They have their security advisors who are the ones who are supposed to be on top of the situation. So it's a problem across Nigeria.
No, you see, we have a security problem across the country. And a region came together and set up a structure that's supposed to help solve that situation in their region. The question, and I think I want the three of you to weigh in on this, would the three of them put themselves under?
Which three?
That's not
I mean, no, sorry. Would there, not three, would those regional governors, those authority beings,
Five states?
five or there, would they put themselves under, as in, if the security apparatus decides to move, for instance, if you flout a law and that apparatus comes at you to say, we're coming to enforce this law.
That's not the
locality.
role. That's not the role.
No, you didn't get,
No.
you
Okay,
didn't get
no,
the
wait.
picture. Let me help you.
No, get where I'm coming from.
No, let me help you
When
first.
you say there's a problem
Yes.
and you're trying to solve it, you're coming up with a solution, right, to support whatever bigger solution there was. Would you allow yourself to be governed by that solution you're bringing in?
Now, you ask that question because you don't understand the structure that we already have on ground, which is called Dawn Commission. Dawn Commission came out of a research undertaking that produced a book which we call Dawn Document. It was officially launched and played in Lagos. I was a part of it. And that was a study that covered every field of human endeavor, from education to transportation to healthcare, economic growth and development, and all of that. They were covered in that thing. Now, all the while, focus has been more on agric and economics. Now we're expanding the frontier to include security. If the governors were obtaining information and surrendering to the authority of dawn on that platform, I don't see them now saying no on security.
I think I understand what you're trying, the question you're trying to
He's
ask.
playing the devil's advocate.
No, I understand the question he's trying to ask. You see, now we're trying to solve a problem. Now, the existing structure that we have, we're having challenges with, one, what is the amount of influence the governors, what they have on the existing structure, and how much are they being subjected to the control of existing structure. And we know that because governors have immunity, so they cannot be prosecuted or be arrested. So one way or the other, they influence the actions of the Commissioner of Police in their state to some extent. Now, this Amotekun is largely to support the existing police or security structure, which means that whatever Amotekun is going to do is still going to come under the police. So if the police cannot per se control the government to a large extent, we should expect that...
they don't use the word control for the thing that...
Yeah, or influence.
Yeah.
So we should still expect the same thing. But this is where Amotekun can help us to solve. Now, we have situations where we have some miscreants that end up becoming political thugs that creates problem in communities. Now, we are having structures that are now going to be empowered to say, these are the problems in this community. Because now they are going to be providing intelligence. You see, in intelligence gathering, there are two things. It works within what we call sources and agencies. Now, the agencies agents are the one that works for the agencies that are being paid by government, but they cannot cover all the space. So they recruit sources in all the communities, whether from the traders, workers, laborers, artisans, the traditional institutions, to provide information for them. So it is this same pool that the agents within our intelligence structure that are pulling information are the one that we are now trying to formalize now as a local or regional security outfit now. So they are not going to have some kind of face, some kind of recognition now to provide this intelligence now that either to the rather give to the DSS officer in that community or to the DPO. Secretly. So now, they do it wittingly or unwittingly, but now they are now going to be a kind of a body now, recognized by law. They can now officially make some of this arrest and say, we know 1, 2, 3 about these people in our community. This person committed this and hand them over to the existing security
they
structure.
have now become official informers to the police.
And also, to some extent, action agency that reports to the existing security structure.
Yes.
Growing up, we had people that were called police informants. They were never known or hardly known.
Yes.
Now, like he explained, they are now giving them faces.
To some extent.
Then there's a structure now to support their operations. It's no longer hidden.
So you don't have to hide anything.
You don't have to hide anything.
Yeah. Okay.
And in any case, the same police that we have now, they've identified 52 locations as hotspots or black spots that need better security management than it used to have. I've mentioned a few of them in my initial submission. So, like Irale said, like you and I have power of arrest. When they arrest, they have no place to keep arrested people. They pass them on to the police.
Yeah.
Okay. And with regards to informants, for instance, the informants are going to be both covert and
overt, of course. Normally now.
And part of it is when they get that information and it's passed to a central point, the document is not coming out as Sheyi Adetayo gave us this information about his community. Yeah. It's coming as on a sheet of paper that has Amotekun on it. Yeah. And like he said, that is what's being passed over to the police and to whomever else needs to action it.
Yeah, staying with you, Tanwa, do you see any areas of conflict between Amotekun and the normal law enforcement?
No.
Well, there shouldn't be, with the way it's structured. And like I said, and that's why I used the security guard example at the beginning. If you're in a building and your building is under attack, the security guard has processes that steps he's supposed to take if there's such a situation. Number one is he's supposed to call his security company. But the security company themselves call who? The police. So ideally, this is how it is structured, and it has to be this way so that we don't have any issues with federal. We know how this can be. And so as long as they stick to that, it should be fine. If Amotekun starts overstepping boundaries, which is they're now apprehending criminals and, torturing them. We talked about torture earlier. You start torturing them to get information, doing things, duties beyond. Exactly. That's when it would be a problem. But like you mentioned earlier, it's important to have these processes in place. And when the strategy for Amotekun was being drafted, I can tell you this, that a lot of care was taken into putting structures and processes in place.
The Anambra experience. The Anambra experience.
Scheduled for June, which Don is putting up. I will invite you to attend the seminar. Perhaps we will come back better informed and then have a good picture of what Amotekun intends to achieve.
Can I share the Anambra experience with us? So there was a time where you can hardly move in Anambra State. People are being killed, people are being kidnapped, ritual killing and the rest. And we have this existing, what they call town unions. So the state governor then used the structure of the town unions to create the vigilantes in all communities, but they call them autonomous communities and the rest. And in conjunction with the police and the DSS. So what they did was that the communities provided the arms, pump action, and the state also provided funds for all the town unions to also get this. So what it is that when they purchased this, which was done with at the instance of the police, they were registered, numbered. Now the people to bear those arms in those communities were registered.
And trained.
Their photo and they were trained. So they used to do monthly briefing in which the police would brief them. So when they effect an arrest, these people confront armed robbers. They exchange fires with armed robbers, subdue them, arrest them. The ones that were killed, the ones that were, the police come in immediately, they hand them over to the police. Within 3 months, crime went down in Anambra. And it was the days of Commissioner Bello and the commissioner before him, because I know he was the DCP then. Yeah. So because he was really the one that managed, DC Ops then. He managed that. Immediately the CP, they retained him as commissioner of police in Anambra. And it worked. So we've seen where this aggressive things like this, they didn't call it like Amotekun. But to me, it's still the same thing. They still the local people. And you know the beauty of this? These people know when a stranger enters their community.
Of course.
They know what's supposed to be in the place. When something is amiss, they know that something is wrong. And you see, it was when this thing came down that you see that everyone coming, they face Akuzu, that's where we have the SARS. You see, when Amraba became so bold that they are coming to Oka to rob, they first of all go to the SARS headquarters, open fire on SARS, deflated their vehicles, open fire on them, subdue them. They will not enter the town and rob. They became so, so bold until the state and the community decided that enough is enough. And everything went down to almost zero. So to me, I say this, that if properly managed, the area of fear that Tawa was also trying to exercise, I don't see that, because part of what I've had conversation with some commissioner of police within this region on this, and I also had conversation with the former commissioner of police Lagos, that is the essay to the governor of your state, Mr. Fatah Owesheni. So yesterday night we're still speaking on this, and you see, it is not the way the media are trying to paint this. There was a media report that says that police are saying they are not going to work with them. And the truth is that has there been any police public relation officer that have come out in the open to make such a statement? Yes, sorry, please. I just want to. So where I'm going is this: each state will have to structure it, from my own understanding, in a way that is going to suit their own community. While and the beauty there is that, just like the way RRS is being run in Lagos, that Lagos state government, they are not the employers of RRS. But I tell you today, they are much in control, because they are providing the equipment, giving them the mandate as to what they want. And they are monitoring it to ensure that they deliver on those mandates.
The conversation, since this thing came forward, the conversations in some quarters have been around the question of state police and restructuring. Some say, as I said, these are way of bringing the state police through the back door. Is that what really it is? Or is it a question of, I am hurting, I need help, and I can't find help outside, so I find my help from within? We'll talk about that when we come back from this break. Thank you for staying with us. So we're talking about how all of this will fuse in. I have a problem and I need help. Is it a question of state police? You talked about the fact that these people know when a stranger comes in. Is that what we have now?
Well, you remember we discussed the issue of state police before, and I told you that maybe Lagos, Kano, and Rivers are the only economically viable states that can run state police. Because there are states that hire teachers could not pay their salaries. Imagine if they should now hire people to run state police, they hire them, train them, arm them,
And don't pay them.
and then 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, they don't get paid. You can imagine the mayhem they will unleash on the community. But you see, this is coming not on that grand scale, but it's coming as an arrangement, he used a term to describe it. I can't remember what it was.
Program.
Sorry?
Program?
As a program. Okay? So the way it is, it's not crowded. They can easily be supervised. And I mean, I'm going to be involved with these things, just believe me. So that at all times, they are being checkmated to limit possible excesses, which of course may occur. Now, the fear that OPC was going to constitute the largest crowd in that is not founded. There are hunters who are coming on board. There are people like me who will be coming in to render professional service. Okay, we don't have any stake beyond keeping the region safe. So, to that extent, it should be a new day for the Southwest, away from kidnapping, banditry, rapes, and all the stuff that we've had.
Okay. Now, Yusuf has a question. He says, can the panel please break this down for me? How will Amotekun, Lagos Neighborhood Watch, LNSC, and the Nigeria Police relate and or liaise?
Okay. So one of the key things that we've always talked about and trained and spoken about, written about, recommended is something called operation centers. So it could either be fusion centers, security operations, or even emergency operation centers. And the whole idea is that you're co-locating members of all of these different agencies together. And when one person gets an information, for instance, if I'm Navy, okay, and I get an information about something that's going on in Ijebu-Ode, I can pass it on to the Amotekun rep that's there, knowing that he will take it and pass it on as well. So that's part of how they're able to coordinate their operations together. And this is why it was important that the governors were all on board, so that it's not something that is being initiated in Lagos and then Ogun State is thinking, no, you're not going to bring that to my border. That's one of the key things. Now, the other question you asked about state policing, for instance, I've always been a proponent for that, simply because I believe that nobody can guard your house better than you. If you tell me I should come and guard your house and you're the owner, it's completely different. So this is part of the reason why I'm very happy about Amotekun and what they're about to do. And there's another thing that we've noticed the federal government does. When the states do something and we find out that it's quite effective, it's working, then next thing we know, the federal then wants to adopt it. An example is with the Lagos State Security Trust Fund. They found out that getting money from the organizations that are operating here in Lagos and using that to fund, you mentioned the IRS, making sure the Lagos State Police are one of the most equipped police forces or police state commands in Nigeria, and that's because of the trust fund. And what happened? I'm sure initially they kicked up about it, but head HQ, Force HQ said, you know what, this is fantastic. It's working well in Lagos. How about we adopt it on a federal level as well? So I feel the same thing may happen with Amotekun, which is why it's very important that it is effective. If it works, it could really be a change and a turning point for the rest of Nigeria, which is saying not necessarily states, like you said, because maybe not all the states can afford it, which is very true. Yeah. However, within each region, at least there's a powerful state there. And if they're making it a regional protection, yes, protection outfit, well, I still think it's an outfit, not a program. But if you have that, it would actually be a turning point for security in Nigeria.
Yeah, Mr. Adetaya, we have heard cases in the past where agencies, instead of collaborating and working together, begin to compete with each other.
Well, yeah, okay. Inter-agencies rivalry is everywhere, all over the world, even in the United States. It's fight for relevance. It's your ability to manage those infractions will determine to a large extent the level of success that you will achieve. That will not happen, we are deceiving ourselves. It will. However, if you put a good structure in place, most importantly, how to communicate, it will stem the tide. I've worked in, under different programs where I had to work with, other agencies. I was in Presidential Villa. I was a detailed to a president. I had to work with all other agencies, including the police, the first intelligence, and then we worked harmoniously. While we had a man at the top of the structure, the CSO to the president, that was able to bring everybody on board to achieve him. I was at international airport. We had to work with customs, immigrations, and others, and then we achieved common goal. So to me, experience I've had in the field has shown that we can always achieve this. It depends on those at the helms of affair. If they create enabling environment for everyone to work together, they will work. And what usually causes problem is when self-interest is allowed to come in as to what do I get from this, what do I gain from it. If the interest is, is consolidated and everybody were working towards same goal, we won't. Like we said, this thing is a child of necessity. And we cannot shy away from the reality, confronting us at this particular moment. So he said something about, the information, the question that person raised, which is also has to do with this. You see, if you look at the structure in Lagos, we have the Neighborhood Security Watch, we have the LASMA, we have other, emergency responders in Lagos, and then the RRS that is, working with the police. That is from the police component. All these intelligence are warehoused because at a central control room, at being supervised by the SA to the governor, which is under the office of the governor, an experienced person, and because there is an emergency number that people call into. So all the incidents as they're happening, there is a dispatcher that dispatch it to relevant agencies. So, and as they are moving to the location, each one are providing support. Last man and road safety are trying to control the traffic, try to move people away from where there is accident or there's the medical component of the Lagos State Emergency are trying to treat, everyone they are trying to work, and you see them working harmoniously. It's about leadership. When the leadership is right, and that's why I'm happy that, even though we have 6 states involved, there is a commission with leadership that is managing this. Just for them to be able to put the right people there and define that each state will have
rules.
Exactly.
That, talking about the right people, yes, this would definitely involve recruitment of people. Mr. Rio, let's talk about the process that will bring about the best of hands and not get the best.
Well, for me, there'll be a lot of pre-engagement vetting and screening, which again can be called profiling, to know where who is coming from before they can be engaged. You don't go hiring like we had it in those days. Security come, just go to the bus stop and gather people. In 48 hours, they've kitted them, they deployed them, and they really messed things up. So in this case, it's never going to happen. Besides, the community approach will make a lot of difference. It's not that you just go there and pick anybody. The CDAs are involved, OBAs are involved, okay? And to that extent, they know who they are bringing forward. Guaranteeship is also going to be there. If anybody is coming from this community, assuming they are saying you should come and join now, tenants will be able to guarantee that you'll be of good conduct all through. Now, the issue you raised, I was going to say that it's a marriage of unequal between Amotekun, police. It's a marriage. I don't see, there's no need, it can't even arise. There can't be competition. No, it's not going to happen. I can give you that guarantee. Especially when we all know what things were on ground. And like he said, bringing this up is a necessity. Therefore, we're going to be guided in a way that there will be zero tolerance for misbehavior.
Okay.
These people they're going to employ, are they going to come from heaven or from somewhere?
I've just told you now.
They're going to be Nigerians.
I just told you now the process that we bat them. It's not like, even the police, the way they recruit now, it's more a case of job for the boys. They are sent in there by political leaders. But in this case, they're going to be from within the community as mandated by the CDA, the OBA, or local chiefs, or Bale, as the case may be.
So it's going to be it's going to be free of any political
Local
I
influence.
can assure you, they all have, they're not coming through the political machinery. It's different from that.
I want to clarify something. You see, we should not paint a perfect situation so that we don't unnecessarily raise the expectation of people. Then they begin to see things in
Well,
the other way.
expectations are raised
You are
already.
bringing people from the society. Now, the thinking right now is entirely different from the way it used to be. There's a lot that we need to do in terms of, the reasoning of Nigerians now. Now, one issue of OPC was raised. The fact is that OPC are going to be involved. OPC are Nigerians. I'm coming, sir. Sorry, please. Please. OPC are Nigerians. They are locals. Those OPC members, they are in different organizations working as a normal person. They are part of the community. The problem is that OPC as an organization is the one that will not be involved.
Okay, the
As
individuals.
organization.
Yes.
Is the one that will say, oh, we are not working with OPC as an organization. But OPC members, which I believe are going to be majority of the volunteers, because this is the service that they've been rendering for their community.
Anyway.
However, they are going to operate under a new leadership, a new structure this time around. Because the fact that somebody has been a member of it does not disqualify them. They are members of the society. So we need to clarify this. People don't say, but I saw on TV, and they were saying that OPC will not be, and I know this man is an OPC man. He has a right to be protected. He has a right to have to the protection of his own community, to protect his own people. So if he volunteered, or he volunteers to want to join this, and is qualified, he does not have criminal records, he's been contributing positively and effectively to his community, it's free.
And the OPC members may even be informants to Amotekun.
A lot of them have been providing information.
Okay, let's. Bala Adamu says, with this explanation, can we rightly say that Amotekun, right, is not more than a vigilante group? I hope at the long run, the political leaders in the zone will not use them to achieve their narrow interest. We've seen it in the past with OPC and with the Anambra scenarios.
Yes.
Now, if we're going to advise the rest of the regions in the country, what would you be telling them as regards to care?
So we mustn't get carried away. Even with Amotekun, there's a phase 1 and there will be another phase afterwards. If right now the objective is to bring safety because of the increase in crime, when they start, that will be their major mandate. Let's now imagine a utopian Southwest that is not dealing with a lot of security issues anymore. We don't want idle people just walking around who are just patrolling and have nothing else to do. There's no action or nothing. And that's where we need to then look at what is the phase 2 aspect of this. Or if at any point in time, if we say that Amotekun is a short-term strategy, then what happens after they've achieved their objectives? So I really believe, and that's part of the considerations that are being put into these plans, is saying, you know what, first and foremost, let's bring about stability and safety to the society, to the region. And once they do that, what is our next mandate at that point? I know part of it will be to maintain, but even after with maintaining, if there are young people involved, they can start getting a little bored, which is what we've seen in the Northeast with the CJTF. In fact, just last month, I believe, there was a riot, or protest rather, where the locals were complaining that these CJTF, yes, they've been involved in helping bring about stability, but now they've turned around and started, causing a bit of chaos within, or issues anyway, within the communities. Exactly. So we know that that is a problem. And now the next step is to say, how do we mitigate against this? What are we going to put into place? And that's what we're saying. Phase 1 will be, let's focus on this task. Phase 2 will then be, what else will Amotekun do once they've achieved their initial objective?
So, if I may add to this, a question came up as to the neighborhood watch in Lagos. And I said that if today Lagos State is being given the mandate to start state police, I said Lagos is ready because there's an existing structure of neighborhood watch. The only difference, the only thing they need to do to those people is to teach them about police practice and procedure and teach them on arms. They are already on ground. It's good for Lagos to take off with what it has. You see, the federal government, Mr. President had already given his nod to state policing. And even though it has not become a formal public document, but we can see that he is, good with it. Now, if we are able to, as against the expectation of some people in some quarters that state policing could create a problem, but we're able to achieve success with this, that will be another narrative now that this can work. If the Southwest can do it, and they can effectively, others will want to study. And then now we can now sit down and say, yes, are we now good for state police? Because we've seen a structure in a particular region working. So to me, I think it's a very good place, good way to start. There will be problems at the beginning. We'll learn from it. We'll try to review what we have, and then to ensure that on the long run, we're able to achieve the objective. And if it is fine, I see no reason why others will not embrace it. I see no reason why that will not help us to move to the next stage, which is state police.
You see, state police.
You said?
The teething problems are in
State
order.
police.
Yeah.
It's a constitutional issue. They say how to think out the constitution before you can do that. Okay? Don't ever take the president's body language as an approver. Because you said you gave a nod.
I said in the future.
You said he gave a nod.
A nod. A nod. Yes.
You can't say he gave a nod because that's an illegality. For all I know, the fact that they still have to sit down and reward constitution to give an answer to amend the constitution, to give life to that is an issue. This morning there was a lot of.
But what's happening now? Is it not part? Is not breaching the constitution in any way?
This one is not in any way. No, they are not armed in the sense of being armed. They can't detain. They have no facility for detention. Okay, they can't prosecute.
And they are not a force.
I mean, they're not a force. So it's I mean, like I told you.
So the other regions can also buy into this.
You cannot compare them with what we have on ground. No, there is a support system to just fill in the little gaps that we know are existing. We've already mentioned some sports. Those black spots were identified by the police and the DSS. Okay, and they will be working with that. And as they are working with that,
already has
spots
that.
They'll be
to focus
reporting
on as they start work.
Their mandate is duty specific. Yeah. It's not ambiguous.
And even the first portion of this is actually to focus on the hot spots. So we're not necessarily going to see them even around here. If this is not a hot spot, they're going to go to the places that are dealing with issues.
That have been identified.
Okay.
Very interesting.
Francis Akinboye says Operation Amotekun is better than the mob action that's likely to happen because of the worsening security in the Southwest. Charles Ndubisi says there sure would be a state and area command structure. What would be their relationship with governance in each state? Are there not going to be any abuses? The question I asked, which none of you looked at, was, can the other regions start off something like this? Was a guarantee that they will not be
I answered your question. I told you that when Dawn started, other states came to understudy Dawn. They were given the paper, the document paper, yes, to go and work with it, making it relevant to their local communities. That they have not started does not mean they're not working on it. Okay? Because Dawn has been largely, if I'm going to be a governor in a Southwest state today, I won't go out and start bothering myself, thinking of what to do. I will simply go to Ibadan and collect the Dawn document. It has solutions to virtually every problem, including the fact that the Southwest can develop itself in lieu of Nigeria, away from whatever is happening there. And that is being done. Maybe we should give them your email address to start sending you their daily releases. So you can
really crowd my
email. And I was going to say, if you think about it, even the Northwest governors meet regarding the issues that they're also dealing with in the Northwest and the North Central. So already the regional governors get together to find solutions to the issues that they're dealing with. All we have here now with Amotekun is that we have put flesh to the bones and we have tried to put structures into something that was largely informal.
If you look
that
around,
is a good place at which we shall leave it for today. Thank you very much.
I'll come back tomorrow.
We might still talk about this some other time. You never can tell. But for today, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Tanwa Ashiru, Defense Intelligence and Security Analyst, Sheyi Adetayo, Regional Vice President, ACES International, and Oladende Ariyo, Security Expert. Thank you all very much for coming to talk about this new thing with us and to enlighten us more as to how we expect it to all work out. Sunrise will be back in a short while with another interesting conversation. Do join us.